everyone, and welcome to podcast episode number 35. My name's Emma and this is where I share everything that I've been crocheting and knitting lately. How are you all doing? I hope you're all well. I want to apologise because it's been an absolute age since I last filmed, and I'd fully intended to film another episode before I went on holiday and things just ended up being really hectic. I'll probably explain a little bit in the video as we get going, but yeah, I'm sorry, I just didn't have the time. But I'm here now and I've got lots to catch up on. I've got my notes all sorted. I've had to go back to the last episode and double check what I was talking about and things. It's been that long, but we're all good to go. So I'm looking forward to having a nice chat and catch up with you all. So the last time we chatted, I had all kinds of plans, didn't I? I think I had about 3 weeks before I was due to go away, 3 or 4 weeks, and I had all things planned. I was planning to do a knit along, which I did, tutorials for the knit along, which I also did, but I also had all of these grand plans and schemes for things that I wanted to knit, specifically for the holiday. I wanted to make a Florence bag by Petite knit. I wanted to make a champagne cardigan, also by Petite knit, and I wanted to make a camisole number 9, which is a pattern by my favourite things knitwear. So firstly, I'll go through those and we'll have a little bit of a chat about how I did. So the knit along went really well. I hope you enjoyed it if you joined in. Thank you ever so much to everyone who took part. It was really fun. I managed to get all the tutorials done and out on time. I've had a few comments from people saying that you found those really helpful. Pattern went out, winners have been drawn, all good. Yeah, it was really fun. I have got a finished object to show you related to the cal, and of course that is my pair of finished socks. And these weren't specifically the socks that I started during the knit along. These are the ones that I made for the purposes of filming the tutorial. So I also just want to apologise as well. I've got a bit of fluff stuck to my lip. If you are a member of my Patreon, you'll probably have already heard and seen all of this stuff, because I do a few extra videos over on there. So I'm sorry, if I'm covering old ground, but these are the socks I knit. So I've got both of them here, and I've used this beautiful yarn from Beehive yarns. It came in a 50-gram sock set. It was called Citrine and Sunstone. I think, well, Citrine will have been this main colour here, and then Sunstone will have been the lovely contrast colour. So I just decided to do a contrast cuff and toe, which is my favourite. If you'll have seen my other episodes, you'll know that. And yeah, it is just a really simple, basic shorty sock pattern. So we've got 10 rounds of cuff here, so not too many because it's only a shorty sock. 16 rounds of the leg here, and then I've done a traditional heel flap and gusset, and then just plain knitting until the end, and then just a standard toe. So I knitted these up quite quickly actually. I had them both on the needles at the same time, and I found that really helpful as I was knitting the tutorial. So what I did, I would say knit this one until the end of the heel flap. And then when I did this one up to here, and then I could use the start the heel flap for the tutorial. I'm pointing on the side away from the camera that you can't even see. So then I could start the heel flap for the tutorial, and then once I'd done a few rows, I could say, and then once you've done that, it should look like this. And then I would get my other sock. So I was kind of knitting them in tandem. Yeah, I was quite chuffed with myself with that idea. I thought it was good. It worked out really well. It made things a lot easier. For the purposes of the cal, once that had actually started, I also cast on another pair. I didn't finish them. I am officially like one of the worst people ever. I can't even finish a project for my own knit along, but for this pair, I'm using another sock set, from Beehive yarns, and here it is. I'll pop all the details down in the description box below, but it's really pretty, and I'm kind of wishing I used this one for the tutorials now because I just think it's so pretty. This kind of dusky pink with oranges and brown speckles. It's absolutely gorgeous. And this is as far as I've got with it. It's still attached. Where's my scissors? Hang on a second. Let me just get a pair of scissors because you'll see in a moment where I'm up to. There we go, that's better. I'm not all attached and tangled up now. Okay, I will just arrange myself. Excuse me one moment. Here we go. So yeah, the yarn was still attached, but I have, for all intents and purposes, finished this first sock. I just need to kitchen stitch the toe. So I actually took these away on holiday with us. Let me pop it on a sock blocker so you can see. Yeah, I took it on holiday with me. I didn't get very far with them at all, and I'm going to explain all about that in a little bit. And I ended up taking these in the car with us as we were driving down to the airport, and this is as far as I got. I left it ready to kitchen a stitch, and I thought I can do that, and then while we're away I can knit the second sock, except that when we were away I didn't do any knitting whatsoever. I didn't even get the bag out of the suitcase, it just stayed there. I can't lie, I actually quite enjoyed the break. I needed the break, I think. Yeah, it's done me good. So here we go, we can see it a lot better now. So this is the second pair that I started knitting. And as you can see with these ones, I've done a different heel. I've actually done a fish lips kiss heel for this pair, which I've not done in ages. So I normally either knit a heel flap and gusset, which actually fits me better. But if I've knit a few pairs of socks all with heel flaps and gussets in a row, I kind of lose enthusiasm for it a bit, and I kind of think, oh, I just need something easier for this pair. And normally in that case, I would do a shadow wrap heel, but I just decided to go back to a fish lips kiss heel. Do you know when you always use a particular method and then you stop and time passes and then you look back and you think, well, why did I stop doing it in the first place? So yeah, I've had another go at it. I couldn't even remember how to do it. I've got the pattern obviously, and I had to get my friend Michelle to refresh my memory, and then once I knew how to do that, I was well aware. The only thing that I don't like about the fish lips kiss heel is that you need stitch markers very briefly just for one part of it, and I don't always have stitch markers handy, and because I'm incredibly lazy, sometimes I really can't be bothered to, you know, stop knitting and go find stitch markers. So for me, that's the only disadvantage to this heel compared to the shadow wrap heel, because with the shadow wrap heel you don't need any stitch markers or anything. There's no counting, nothing. Yeah, but we'll see how I get on with this pair, and I'll report back, I think, on whether these fit me a little bit better. I do think it looks nice and neat, so we'll see. And also with the shadow wrap heel, you do tend to get like a bit of extra fabric here, kind of like a little lip, so you don't have that with the fish lips kiss heel, so they might fit a little bit snugger. We'll see. But yeah, the yarn is absolutely gorgeous. So out of the projects that I'd planned to knit to take on holiday, I mean, why did I write myself like a massive big list of all things that I wanted to make, as if that time like before you're going away isn't stressful enough already? Of the things that I planned to make, the one that I finished was the Florence bag. And it is here. Look at this. I'm really chuffed with this. I've never made anything like this before, and I've actually got a full vlog video on Patreon all about the making of this. I took this on holiday and I used it every single day. Every single day I loved it, and it was perfect because it's just kind of nice and small and casual. It was a bit of a learning curve, so I'll start at the beginning. I ordered the things to make this from Knit and Living online, and they sell these as a kit. Look at that. And the kit contained most of the things that you need. So in the kit you get the yarn, all of the yarn that you need. You get the lining, which is already cut out, ready for you to sew in, and you get the leather strap. What you don't get is the zipper, which I had to buy separately, but you can get that from Knit and Living, and I got this kind of sandy coloured one here. And the yarn that I got as well is just the one that's used in the pattern samples, but there's all different colours. And you don't get the pattern in the kit either, so I also had to pay for that separately. So you can make this in 2 sizes. This is the size small. In the kit, you get 2 balls of this yarn. Look how good I've been keeping all of this. And this yarn is 100% linen, and it's unlike anything that I've ever knit with before. This is what I've got left. So you get just enough, really. It is incredibly tough on the hands. In fact, I've got a video of this. Can you see how there's just no stretch to it whatsoever? I put a video on of this showing how to do a crochet cast on, and I got so many comments from people saying the crochet cast on must be a really tight cast on then, because it looked so tight in the video, but it's not. It was just the yarn that I was using. So in the pattern, you actually have to hold this held with 3 strands together. I don't know why I'm holding it up like that. So the first problem that I had was, okay, I've got to use 3 strands together, but I've only got 2 balls. So I had to kind of mess about separating the yarn up into 3. And then after that, I actually discovered a tutorial on the Petite Knit website, which is amazing. I love this. I've been waxing lyrical about it, where you can use 3 strands of yarn held together just from 1 single ball. Honestly, it's one of the best things ever. I want to use the same technique for like a scrappy crochet blanket or something at some point to use some yarn up. It's really good, it's really clever. You basically kind of hold the yarn double, and then you create a loop, and then as you knit with it and the loop comes closer and closer, then you get the end of the yarn and pull that back through the loop. And that probably makes absolutely 0 sense, but go look on the Petite Knit website and have a look at it. Yeah, it's amazing. In fact, if I think on, I'll pop a link in the description box below. So that was all well and good. I was all ready and set up. I didn't do a gauge swatch because I reasoned that the bag is so small anyway that by the time I'd done a gauge swatch, which I thought would probably be, okay anyway, I could have just been knitting the bag. And that was a mistake in retrospect, because I'd only been knitting a little bit before I realised that I was going through the yarn at an alarming rate, and I still had so much of the bag to do. So I checked my gauge, and it was way off. I held the actual lining, which goes inside the bag, against what I'd knitted so far, and say the lining obviously is from here to here. The bag that I knitted first came like here. It was absolutely enormous, so I ended up having to frog the entire thing, which I wasn't very happy about. So I had to go down a needle size, which made it even kind of tighter to knit with, even more difficult to knit with, but obviously it needed to be the correct size because it had to fit the lining. I've discovered recently actually that that's quite a common theme with me in Petite Knits patterns. I quite often have to go down a needle size, which is surprising because I knit English style, which is traditionally tighter, also people say, and Petite knits continental style, which is looser. So now that I've said that, I'm getting all confused in my head. I get really confused with gauge. Anyway, yeah, usually for Petite Knits patterns recently, I'm having to go down a needle size. My tension must have loosened up. It's knit with this it's a really simple stitch pattern. And yet, I kept making so many mistakes. I don't know what I was doing. I just kept doing silly mistakes and doing it wrong, and it wasn't until a couple of rounds later that I realised, and I'd have to take it back 2 rounds. Because I think, I'm trying to remember now, I'm really sorry, I think you do say like 1 round in pattern and then 1 round of plain knitting. So it wasn't until the next round in pattern that I discovered that I'd done it wrong. So I had to take it back 2 rounds. But we got there in the end. I found the decreases too difficult to do. You had to knit so many stitches together through the back loop, and because there's just no tension, like no give whatsoever in the yarn, I just found it too difficult to get my needle through there and to pull the yarn through, because I think it was 3 stitches, but then obviously each stitch was 3 strands of yarn. Anyway, it was too difficult, and I ended up changing that, and I think what I did instead was a central double decrease, which was much easier to do. And I don't think it really matters. You can't really tell anyway. After that came the difficult part, which was sewing in the lining. And I've just remembered something else. I did a crochet cast on for this because I really liked this kind of beautiful neat finish it gave there. I don't think it specifies in the pattern what cast on to do, but that's the one that I did. So then you have to come and sew it together, and I am not the sewist. I'm not very good at sewing whatsoever. I'm impatient, I get tangled up, I get frustrated, but I did it. So you had to start off by sewing in the zipper, and then once you'd done that, you had to pin it all and then sew in the zipper. You had to turn everything inside out and sew in the lining, and I think I did quite a good job. I'll show you the good side. I'm quite chuffed with that. So obviously it's not perfect, but it's good enough. But as I'd been using this on holiday, I'm very sad to say that part of the lining has come away, but it's fine. It's fine, it's okay. I'll sort it another time. There is, however, one huge for me drawback to this bag. So like I said, I used this all holiday, and pretty much for the full week I wore a denim jacket that I've got. It's one of my favourite ever things. I got it years ago. I got it off eBay, and it's a cropped denim jacket. So like it comes like up here, and then the sleeves are like 3/4 sleeves. So it's really nice. It's not too hot, but it you know, it's just nice. And yeah, I love this denim jacket. And then at the end of the holiday, I took it off one night and I laid it down and I said, what's that on the back of my jacket? And there was this great big kind of mucky brown streak going up the back. And then I realised, and do you know what it is? All of the dye from the inside of the leather strap has rubbed off on the back of my jacket, and I've washed it just in regular detergent and it hasn't come out. I don't know whether to try washing it again in like some vanish or proper stain remover or something. I don't know. I don't want to ruin the denim jacket, but it's really put me off wearing the bag, because my denim jacket is quite a dark colour, but if I wanted to wear this with you know, like a pale coloured dress or anything, it's just going to ruin it. The dye is just going to rub off. So yeah, there is that one big drawback. I'm not sure. I think you can maybe get a different colour leather strap, but I'm not entirely sure on that. I don't recall choosing the colour of the leather strap, so maybe it does just come with one. So that, wow, I've been talking ages. I was actually contemplating splitting this down into more than one episode, but we'll see how we go. So that's my first finished object, probably my first and I won't say my last bag, but it'll be a while since I do another one, I think. Okay, the next on my list was the champagne cardigan, and I really really wanted to get this finished in time for my holiday. I really did. It was my priority, to the point where, you know, even to the point where I sort of started slacking on my knit-along socks. I shelved the whole idea of the camisole number 9. I thought, well, that's okay, I can do that another time, that's fine. I just put all of my time and energy into the champagne cardigan, and spoiler alert, I didn't get it done. Now, this is the part where, if you're one of my patrons, you'll have heard all of this. So I'm just going to cover it quite briefly because, yeah, it's long and I don't want to go all over it. But I knew that I'd set myself up with quite a lot to do with the knit along, getting everything done, all of the tutorials and things. And then plus, on the other hand, I had things to organise for work before I went away, and just the general organisation and things that I needed to do for going on holiday. So I knew that I was pushing it, but I thought that I would be fine. But I wasn't counting on Oscar being seriously ill and needing vet treatment, and yeah, needing lots and lots of care, to the point where I was spending for a good week. I think I was up quite a lot during the night with him, looking after him and things. He's fine now. I wasn't counting on Isla also being ill and being off school, which also kind of threw me off and meant that I didn't have as much time. And then just as they got better, Isla basically got something in her eye, and we had to spend 6 hours sitting in our minor injuries unit waiting for her to get seen to. And that was literally all of the spare time that I had to get my champagne cardigan done. So let me show you how it's looking. I have been I was really enjoying knitting this. So I got so close. I got onto the placket. And do you know, it's been such a gorgeous knit as well. So I remember that last time we chatted, I was showing you my April cardigan, and I said I was going to let you know which one out of the April cardigan and the champagne cardigan was easier, because on Petite Knit's website, she classifies the April cardigan as being easier, and the champagne cardigan is more advanced on account of the double knitted button band. I actually completely disagree. The champagne cardigan has been so much easier to knit. The pattern is so much better written. There's kind of less messing and things to do. So with the April cardigan, you've got all these special decreases and things to do on the shoulders there. There's none of that. You don't have to keep anything kind of written in your head. Like if you remember, you don't have to hold any information in your head, and obviously not literally written in your head. With the April cardigan, I had kind of 2 tallies going on, because I had to remember to do all of these decreases on one hand, whilst also increasing, for the neckline on the other hand at the same time. With the champagne cardigan, there is none of that. Everything is written into the pattern. It is, yeah, I would say it's so much easier. So the problems that I've had with the champagne cardigan has been the placket. So I've done a double knitted button band before. I actually don't mind doing them. They are incredibly time consuming. The problem that I've had with it was just the sheer amount of time that it took me anyway, but also I got right past all of the neckline and onto the next side, and at that point I decided to try it on, and it was then that I realised the full placket is just, it's way too small. So because I've gone down a needle size for knitting the main body of the cardigan, I also went down the same amount of needle sizes for knitting the placket, and I think I've gone down too many, and the full side where I've done the placket is kind of shrunk up like this, whereas the side that doesn't have it is, you know, just looks so much better. And it's really noticeable here, look, on the shoulders, if you can see. Yeah, can you see there where it bunches and ripples up? It just doesn't sit right, and I know that I could potentially just block the hell out of it and hope for the best, but I kind of don't want to do that, because the yarn was so much money, and you know, I really love the pattern and I want it to be perfect. So as soon as I realised that, I knew then I wasn't going to get it finished for holiday. This was on the Wednesday, and I had to pack on the Thursday morning and we travelled up, so yeah, there's just no chance. And I'd honestly worked on it so much to try and get it done that I just put it away, and it's going to continue being away for now. I just need a bit of space from it. But at some point I will definitely pick it back up again and get the placket finished off, and it will be completely worth it. But yeah, for the moment that's been shelved, to be continued at a later date. Yeah, and I've kind of skimmed over everything, but yeah, I found it pretty stressful. I don't really work well to deadlines anyway. I think just because I enjoy knitting and crocheting so much, and then as soon as you put a deadline on it, it takes a little bit of the fun out of it for me, because it's, you know, if you've got to do something, it's a bit different, isn't it? So yeah, that's the champagne cardigan, Florence bag done, my knit along socks. I've shown you my Shorty socks. I've got another pair of socks on the needles, and I apologise again because I can't remember if I've shown this yarn already or whether I showed it in a different video. But it is Regia Pairfect, and the whole deal with this yarn is that you just cast it on and the full pattern is in the sock, including the contrast colour for the cuff, the heel and the toe, and then you just knit it right through. And I really liked the pattern on it, but I really liked the idea of just being able to knit a sock from start to finish without really having to, without having to mess about, without having to think, oh, is the cuff long enough? Is the leg long enough? Just all of those kind of decisions are taken away from you, and it is just literally plain knitting. I thought they'd be good for a bit of TV knitting. The downside to that is that obviously the yarn is one size fits all, and I don't have like particularly big feet or anything, so it means that the cuff is absolutely ginormous. Let me show you how big it is. It's huge. It's about twice the size of what I would normally do for a sock. I didn't actually count the rows, but look, I can double it over, and that's probably about the size that I would normally do. And then also the leg is incredibly long, but having said that, I'm really enjoying knitting them. So I've done a fish lips kiss heel for these again. I did actually have to cut the yarn for the heel because I found that I'd finished the heel and I still had some yarn left, so I had to cut that because I wanted to get back into the pattern for the foot. But I knitted the ends in as I went, so it's okay, they're sorted with. Yes, and then now I'm on the foot, and then once that sock's completed and I've done the toe, all you have to do is kind of pull from the ball of yarn until you get to the start of the next sock, and then just cast it on. So yeah, I'm really enjoying those. Another project that I've got that has had a bit of a change since the last time we chatted is my advent blanket, and I feel like every time we talk, I've changed this blanket and it's been frogged and started again as something else. So originally with my advent from Beehive yarns, I started off doing a crochet blanket using the wave stitch. I frogged that because I felt that the colours kind of muddied into one another. I wasn't happy with it. I started a mini granny square blanket with it, which I showed you the last time. And then I kind of thought, well, it's not really showing off the colours that well because I was just doing them as a random placement. And whereas if you look at something like the Sweet Shop blanket, which I know that a lot of people have been using for advents, you can see obviously the really distinct colours, and I just thought that was nice because it showcased the 24 mini skeins that you get in the advent. So I'm still doing a mini granny square blanket from the Advent, but I've changed the layout of things, and I'm really happy with how it's looking. Let me show you. So far, I've got this, and I've just started adding colour number 5. So these are all made up of mini granny squares, just the same as before, but I've done a very deliberate colour placement. So each mini skein, I'm making a block of 9 squares, which is being surrounded by this cream colour, which is it's the Cascade Heritage that I used originally for the wave blanket when I first started this. And yeah, I'm just going to carry on going until I've done a block for all 24 colours. And then once I've done that, I'm going to do another 24, because I've weighed the yarn and each 20-gram ball does 2 squares. So as I've done one colour, I've been popping that ball separately away in a bag so that I know which ones I've done and which ones I haven't. Once I've worked through them all, I'll do another block of them all again. But I'm really enjoying it. I've been thinking of names for this blanket, so I've been calling it the Advent blanket, but I think, now that I'm holding it up, I'm not so sure, but I was thinking I might call it something like the chocolate box blanket, because it reminds me of when you open a box of chocolates and then you've got all these lovely squares of chocolates in all different foil wrappers. Yeah, so I might call it that. We'll see. But the plan with this is to release the pattern in time for Christmas, for everyone else's Advents, because I just think it's such a great Advent pattern. It's really beautiful and it's really fun to do. It's funny because I was working on this next colour this morning, and I was thinking of how much I enjoy knitting the coloured squares as opposed to knitting the plain white bits. It's like I can't wait to see how it looks with the next colour joined, and even though it's exactly the same thing when I'm working just the plain squares, they're so boring in comparison, which is why I've left this entire stripe here. That still needs doing, but I will do it. The bottom of the blanket is here, so it starts like this, and then that's my start of it, and then it goes up. So the really good thing with this is you can just join the squares in any kind of order or location that you want to. So I've started doing it up here, but I mean I could have done down here or here, so it's really fun. And that uses just the same tutorial as my mini solid granny square video that I've got. So I'll pop a link in case you want to have a look at that. This week I have also filmed another tutorial that a lot of people have been asking for, which is my Hexy scrap yarn blanket. So this is an incredibly old project. I found it in Isla's Barbie house as a rug, and I popped a picture of it up on Instagram, and I had lots of people saying they'd like to see a tutorial for it. And yeah, so I filmed one, and it's not on YouTube yet, so I think I'm going to get this podcast up and then the tutorial will come a couple of days later. But it is up on Patreon already, because if you're a member of Patreon, you'll get early access to all of my YouTube videos, and they will stay on Patreon ad-free as well once they go live on YouTube. So I originally thought that they would only be ad-free until they went live on YouTube, because I thought I would have to link to the YouTube video, but I'm actually loading the videos up onto Patreon itself. So once they're on it, they stay there. So yeah, if you're interested in getting early access and ad-free videos and things, then do check it out. The link's in the description box. So that's another tutorial that I've done. I've just got one more thing to cover, which is my blanket pattern. So a long time ago now, I had some blanket patterns for sale, not very many, I think I had 4. And after a while, for various reasons, I decided to take them down, and I didn't do any designing for quite a while. But yeah, since I've been working on my Advent blanket, chocolate box blanket, maybe, for a while. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and I've decided that I'm going to rework my old blanket patterns. I'm going to give them complete makeovers, remake new samples, different yarn, different colours. In some cases they'll probably look quite different. I'll keep the actual stitch patterns the same, obviously, but names, things like that, all might change. So the one that I'm working on at the moment was released as the Cosmos blanket. I actually put a poll in my stories on Instagram to ask people which one they'd like me to work on first, and that was the one that won in the votes, which actually really pleased me, because when I released these, I think it was like 4 years ago now, that pattern was actually my favourite one, and it actually sold the worst out of all of them. Like it did the worst. So yeah, I was quite chuffed that people want to see that one first. So I ordered some yarn yesterday from Wool Warehouse. That is will hopefully be on its way soon, and I'll be able to get a new sample of that worked up. So yeah, that's what I've got kind of in the pipeworks at the moment. So it's been really nice having a little catch up with you. I feel like I spent ages talking about my Florence bag and then completely zoomed through everything else, but hopefully now that I'm back off holiday, I've got various things out of the way, no one's ill, you know, touch wood at the moment, hopefully I'll be able to keep into a more regular schedule now. So yeah, it's been lovely catching up. And let me know in the comments what you've been working on, and if there's anything that you'd like to see, any tutorials or things like that coming up in the future. And I will definitely, I won't leave it as long this time, I'll definitely be catching up with you all again soon. So take care, I hope you have lots of fun working on whichever projects you've been working on lately, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye everyone.